Hey guys, it's me, the guy who made that video here. Now I'm guessing you've probably heard this from a lot of YouTubers before, especially us smaller ones, but man, it's still kinda weird to think about how I actually have a somewhat small following here on this website. Now, I'll spare you most of the speech, but I do want to take the time to say that I am extremely grateful for all of you for watching my videos and giving me feedback and just making this whole experience a lot more fun. Seriously though, I'm not just saying that, it really does mean a lot to me. You're probably not used to me being a little sappy here, but I'm a bit more of a sensitive person than you may believe, and I actually did start gaining my following around a bit of a difficult time in my life, but that's a story for another time. Anyway, so a few months ago I saw that I had passed the 10k subs mark and I thought to myself, yeah, that's a good enough milestone for me to attempt a little Q&A video. Made a community post back then asking you guys for some questions and oh, boy did you deliver. Quite a bit more than I was expecting. Now, unfortunately, I'm not going to get to every question because I don't want this video to be too long, but if I happen to skip over one of yours that you were really looking forward to, you can go ahead and ask me it again in the comments and I'll be sure to give you an answer this time. Also, I can't help myself, I just gotta mention that the quality of this video isn't going to be quite up there with the other ones. There's gonna be far less editing here and a lot more of me rambling and stuttering, but I kinda wanted this to have a bit more of a natural feeling to it. Now, I just need to find some unused gameplay footage of something that I still have saved on my hard drive, and this is good. Hope you guys enjoy my below-average Dragon Ball FighterZ gameplay. NM asks, what made you choose your channel name? There's actually kind of a funny story behind that. See, I've had quite a few usernames throughout my life, and one that I was using for a pretty long-ass time was this, it was Twisted Smiles, right? And then like 5 years ago-ish, I began to realize how unnecessarily edgy that name sounded, so I started making fun of that fact by using all sorts of names like Edgy Emo Girl 666 was a big one, but then I started using Edgy Boy Joe a lot, and to be honest, I wasn't really expecting Edgy Boy Joe to be my permanent username, but then I started gaining a bit more of a following while still having that name, and it's become sort of an inside joke within my fanbase, so I guess it's kinda mine now. Big Hoff 24 asks, favorite Pokemon? Man, I wish I could be more of a hipster with my pick, liking one of the more obscure and weird ones the most, but I just have way too much childhood attachment to Ghastly, Haunter, and Gengar, that whole trio. I do like Gourgeist a lot though, especially after my Pokemon Shield playthrough, and the Litwick evolutionary line is one of my favorites. I love Bayonet a lot too, and then there's the team I used to use for my competitive battling back in Gen 6, and I think I'll just go ahead and stop right there. That guy that tried asks, do you stream, and if you don't, when do you plan to? No, I don't currently stream at the moment, but it's most likely something I'm gonna be giving a shot at some point down the line. I'm just a little worried because, like, I'm not really all that funny at improvising. Like, what you guys see in the videos is a highly edited and highly condensed package right there. I feel like I'm not actually all that funny or interesting most of the time, but, you know, I guess it's something that I'm never gonna get better at unless I try. Jack Rooks asks, what video are you most proud of / what was your favorite one to make? Now, the Ed Edd and Eddy one is certainly up there, mostly for the sheer amount of time and effort that I've put into that sort of joke video, but I gotta say, my absolute favorite as of now would have to be the top 10 video game enemies list. I was just so goddamn passionate and excited about making that throughout the whole month of October, you know, being able to talk about some games and series that I don't usually talk about all the time, and, you know, I think I did a pretty good job at explaining and describing all the enemies that I put on this list that even people who haven't played most of the games on there were able to follow along and understand my choices, and basically this is kind of like my, shameless sort of plug for that video, you know. If you haven't seen it yet, I do recommend it. There's a silly little YouTuber skit in the beginning, man. I give you a timestamp to skip that if that's not your thing. Bernardo Fontanelli asks quite a few here, so I don't think I'm going to be answering all of these, but one of them is, what/who inspired you to start a career as a degenerate edgelord YouTuber? Now, the thing is, I actually don't really consider my channel to be that much of a degenerate edgelord type of channel. Like, if you look at it in a more general sense, it's honestly not all that different from your typical video gamey YouTube channels. I guess I do kinda have like a slightly weirder sense of humor for some people, but it's not like I'm trying to be some kind of degenerate edgelord memer. Basically, I just like making videos, I enjoy video games, and I like, doing things that I find funny. I know that didn't really answer your question, but how about I answer another one? What's my favorite movie? Which is, the type of question that's bound to change in the future, but for a while now, I've been considering Fargo to be my all-time favorite movie. Haven't really seen the TV series, so I know very little about that, but as far as the movie goes, I just think it's one of the most perfect dark comedies out there. Like, it's not trying too hard to be all disturbing and twisted and messed up, but at the same time, it's also not trying too hard to be wacky and funny. Like, the movie's plot does involve a pretty convoluted and ridiculous scheme that continues to go further out of hand as the movie goes along, but there's enough, genuine drama and tension that makes the situation still feel real. Highly recommend that movie. Dakota Corliss asks, thoughts on Joker? Well, I, haven't really seen it yet. Whoops, ruh-roh. I do want to check it out at some point, I just don't really go to the movies all that often, and I've already got a pretty big, bucket list of movies already, but it is on there, so I'm definitely gonna give it a shot. Alright, I'll address this one. Eat my toes. No, that's not really much of a question, is it? That sounds a lot more like a command right there, and I'm certainly not going to with that attitude. SargentGuy asks, can you elaborate on what you said in one of your more recent community posts? I thought this might have been it for me. Were you thinking of quitting? Yeah, I do remember that post, and I was not thinking of quitting, no. I was just thinking that, almost half a year of being stuck at around the 6.9k subs mark, that it might have been it for my channel growth. And even if it was, I'd still be making videos, because I just like making videos. I love getting feedback on them, regardless of how much my fanbase has actually grown. So yeah, don't worry, I'm not gonna quit doing YouTube, even if it doesn't pan out for me in the long run. GR927, Sir Swaggy Shades, as well as Bernardo all ask about my musical preference. Now, I do like a lot of different genres, including video game music, if that counts as its own genre, but if I had to pick one genre as being my favorite, I'd probably have to give it to metal. Judas Priest has been one of my all-time favorite groups ever since I was a little kid and asked my parents if I could buy the Painkiller album because I liked the cover art. Painkiller is actually one of my favorite songs by them, as well as, Sentinel, Jawbreaker, Nightcrawler, Metal Meltdown, Freewheel Burning, Hellbent for Leather. The song Traitor's Gate from their most recent album has become one of my favorites from them, and, I even like some of the songs from Jugulator. Motorhead is another group I really like. Special mention going to their album Inferno, which is my personal favorite. Accepts Blood of the Nations is insanely good. It's been my go-to workout album. Beat the Bastards, Teutonic Terror, it's all amazing. But my personal favorite, if I had to choose, I'd go with No Shelter, just the guitar part throughout that one is so damn good. Oh, Diablo Swing Orchestra is a group that I only got into about maybe 4 or 5 years ago-ish, but they've quickly become one of my all-time favorites. I even have a whole playlist where I've organized some of my favorite songs from them. And black metal used to be one of my guilty pleasure genres, but I've since come out of the closet a bit as a black metal fan. Bathory's Bloodfire Death is one of my all-time favorite songs, and a special mention has to go to Gorgoroth's... hold on, let me make sure I'm saying this right. I'm gonna look this up real quick. Gorgoroth's Quantos Possunt ad Sententium Trahunt for being one of my all-time favorite albums, while I don't even know how the fuck I'm supposed to pronounce it. Special mention going to the songs Prayer and Satan Prometheus on that one. Metal's not the only thing I listen to, though. I'm not going to mention everything, but one of my all-time favorite groups, I'll say it, is Hailstorm. God, their songs are so fucking fun to listen to, and especially to sing drunk karaoke to. I can, literally just keep rambling about this, but I think I've done enough. I might even cut some of what I've said here. But that actually segues into a question that, Squid Bomb Productions asks, are you a Satanist? Yeah, no, not really. I've used the term borderline Satanist as a joke in the past because I do have a couple of items here and there, but that's mostly because of the black metal music that I listen to. I've sort of since embraced that a little, and I like the visual design of a lot of these items here. I guess you could call me a poser Satanist. Insert name here asks, what did I have for lunch? Well, a couple of days ago I made a turkey sandwich with cheese, tomatoes, and this hot sauce that I really like. It's not what I had for lunch today exactly, but it was the last thing I had for lunch that I decided to take a picture of, so I hope that's good enough for you, my friend. Favorite Ed, Edd, and Eddy character? Now, that's a pretty good one that I'll probably include in the thumbnail. But I do enjoy the Kanker sisters a lot, and Rolf is always a funny time, but my favorites would have to be both Eddy and Double D. I know it's kind of cheating to pick two, but I just really like the chemistry they have and the way their personalities and dialogue play off of one another, especially in seasons 3 and 4, which I think are the best seasons. The Man asks, was there ever a video you planned to do when we're just like, no, this is too edgy/weird, and then scrapped it? I have scrapped a few videos before, but not really for that reason. It was more because they were just not turning out to be very good. For example, back during like the first week or two of Ultimate's release, I was working on this top 15 Smash taunts video for a bit, which I thought would be a pretty good idea because I happen to really like taunts in video games and I love the Smash taunts, but I don't know, the script just wasn't turning out all that good or interesting, and it was just kind of like I was rushing through it to get it out while Ultimate was still, hot and relevant. Yeah, I just remember looking at it and like listening through to the audio that I had along with the music and everything, and I was just saying to myself, like, this video's not going to be that good, it's not going to be relevant for very long, and it's just not really the kind of thing I'd want someone, checking out my channel to see, like, at years in the future, so I just kind of didn't go through with it. Still keeping that video idea on the back burner, though, because I might revisit that. Alright, I think now might be a good time to find the one. I'm doing these out of order, but there is one that caught my eye here. Oh, here it is. Are you gay? Now, that's a question. And the answer is that I don't think so, like, not really. If I'm being honest here, I don't really know what the fuck I am in terms of my sexuality, but I think asexual is the closest from what I've heard described. Like, I'm into having romantic relationships with any gender, really, but I don't really find the naked bodies of anyone to be all that arousing. Like, I definitely don't get boobs. They're just, like, floppy little lumps, and I don't know, I don't see the appeal. Wieners are just kind of weird and funny looking. It's like we're a bunch of unplugged chargers with the one bit still hanging out. Vaginas are pretty fucking gross, but they do make for some good horror imagery. And butts, I mean, come on, people. That's where poop comes out of. I guess as far as, like, fictional characters go, I kind of have more quote-unquote crushes on male ones, but I don't know if I'd count that. At the end of the day, though, I don't really care that much about what my sexuality is. I kind of have a lot of more important things to be worrying about in my life right now, but I don't know. Hoopster the One asks, do you like Danganronpa? I've actually gone through the first game, and I haven't played it technically. It was around like 2014, and I think the first game wasn't even localized here yet, but a friend of mine showed me a fan translation, and it did kind of captivate me, to the point where I finished the whole thing. I haven't played or watched through any of the sequels, though. I've heard they get even better, but, another one for the list. Glorious Chad asks, are you a fan of Resident Evil? I'd say I'm a bit of a fan, yeah. I'm one of those people where RE4 was my first game in the series. I fell in love with that one and then, got interested in the rest of it and sporadically began to play some of the other games. It's a fun series to try to follow. Here's someone I recognize. I hope I pronounced this right. Nueve El Xenomorpho asks, would you rather have sex with Bucerati from JoJo, Tingle from Zelda, or a Chozo from Metroid? Now, I still haven't watched JoJo yet, though it is on the list, so I don't really have a good perspective on that guy, but if it was between the other two, okay, I love Tingle. I think he's such a brilliantly weird and funny character design, but I really hope this wouldn't upset him, but I'd just be way too curious to see what sex with a Chozo would even entail. Unless they, don't have sex, in which case, damn, I'd damage my relationship with Tingle for nothing. Now, it's been a while since I've brushed up on my Metroid lore, but if there was any race of creatures that did not have sex with each other, it'd be the goddamn Chozo. Soul Calibur Simmer asks, why do you look like Shaggy Rogers? Yeah, I've gotten quite a lot of those, you look like insert character here comments before. Probably because I just happen to look like some weirdo cartoon character, but I actually don't think I've ever gotten the Shaggy comment before. I can kinda see where you're coming from with that though, especially when I grow out this little shitty thing here. The Bright A-Gen Show asks, is the girl trapped in the doll okay? Oh, Rachel, yeah, I think she's doing alright. I've been letting her watch YouTube videos on my Switch a bunch, and it turns out she's a fan of Red Letter Media and those How Good Was Blank Pokemon Actually vids, so hey, that's something new I've learned. Ezequiel Rivera asks, did you ever expect your Ed, Edd and Eddy video to get so popular? No, I did not. Seriously though, that was just this little video idea I had for a pretty long-ass time. Even before I started consistently making YouTube videos, I had an idea like that, and it took me a while to actually dedicate myself to the task though. I'd always have the idea in like the back of my mind, but I'd often think, I don't know if I'm ready for this. I want to get a little more accustomed to making videos first. What ultimately convinced me to just buckle down and do it were my buddies over at 3GI, a great YouTube channel by the way. I mentioned the idea to a few of the people on the Patreon Discord server, and with a lot of people being big fans of the series, they were certainly interested in the idea. But even then, I'd still put it off for a pretty long time, and they'd often tease me about how I haven't been working on it. But what really did the trick was this phase where a bunch of us on the server, including myself, changed our names and profile pics to Ed, Edd, and Eddy characters, which, you know, just got me into that whole Ed, Edd, and Eddy spirit and gave me the proper kick in the ass that I needed. Oh geez, I hope I pronounced this one right. Vaquero asks, have you considered doing any viewer battles? Yeah, actually, that does sound like fun. I'm still plotting out what steps I should be taking next in regards to this channel, but I'm definitely thinking of starting a Discord server sometime in the future, and viewer battles would most likely follow after that. Also, if Charizard and Ridley met, do you think they would be enemies or friends? Well, I guess that would depend on the Charizard. If you're talking about the one in Smash, I'm not so sure, because he belongs to the trainer, and I guess it depends if the trainer and Ridley get along. And I think I'll end things off by talking a little bit about the drag stuff, since a few of the people here have also been asking about that. I'm not even sure how far back I should start with this, but basically at some point in my life when I was developing my style more, I began experimenting with some what would be seen as more feminine attire, mostly with a couple of high heel wedge boots, which I really dig the way they look, and I kinda love the way they made me feel too. The couple of extra inches of height are definitely a lot of fun for my fucking 5'5" ass. And yeah, after a few cosplays and some really fun Halloween costumes, I thought it would be really fun to do a drag show, and luckily, the college I was going to was a host to an annual one, so, yeah, I gave it a shot, and it turned out to be a lot of fucking fun. I put together my little outfit, mostly made of leftovers from my other costumes, with a few exceptions, and I got to perform as a weird, scary dominatrix lady, and it was so much fun. Like, the whole thing was a lot of fun. Coming up with my character, watching everyone else come up with their characters, plotting out our performances, choosing what songs we were gonna lip-sync to. I already decided my name long before this, though. Lucifer was one of those usernames I used to do, and it worked perfectly here. I do want to go into a lot more detail, but I kind of want to save that for another time, and I feel like this video is already going to be really long. At least a lot longer than I wanted it to be. And, yeah, I think that's good enough for now. I sure hope none of my answers have turned you off from my content.